Well, howdy friends, Brian Flechsig of Mad River Outfitters and the Midwest Fly Fishing Schools, and welcome back to another one of our knot tying tutorials. Today we're going to take a look at a knot called a Homer Rhode Loop Knot. And this is an important knot for big game and saltwater fishing, and it's primarily used in, say, 60 pound, 80 pound, 100 pound mono or fluorocarbon that you would use for shock tippet. And that's, say, 27 to 32 thousandths diameter, so it's fat stuff. And this is primarily going to be used for tarpon fishing, although occasionally we have found situations where muskie in very clear waters can shy away from some wire tippet, so we will occasionally use fluorocarbon. Now, I do typically use fluorocarbon, one of the rare cases that I use fluorocarbon. And it's not about the breaking strength on this, because this is going to be much stronger and thicker than your weakest link in your leader. It's about the abrasion resistance. And fluorocarbon is much more abrasion resistant than monofilament. So I'm typically using, say, 27, 28, or 30 thousandths fluorocarbon for the bite tippet. Again, mostly tarpon, occasionally muskie. If you've ever tried to tie a non-slip loop knot with this heavy stuff, it is virtually impossible. It's too bulky, it doesn't seat right, and it's just not a lot of fun. So the Homer Rhode Loop Knot is the way to go. And it's really, really simple. It's basically 2 overhand knots, but there's a couple of tricks, and I want to show you those here today. So I'm going to tie this first with some 30-pound amnesia, okay, and thinking that you might be able to see this a little bit better than, say, the fluorocarbon. So you're going to take this, you're going to take your bite tippet and you're going to tie an overhand knot, literally tie an overhand knot, which is the same that you would do with a non-slip loop. And then, of course, you're going to thread the fly through there as well. And then you're going to come fairly close to the fly here, okay? Now, I'm simply going to come through that overhand knot with my tag end. And then pulling on both pieces, okay? Pulling on both pieces, the tag end and the standing end, I'm going to tighten that knot down, okay? Again, try to get it as tight as you can. So I'm pulling hard on the fly, and I'm pulling hard on the tag end and the standing end. This is not the norm. You don't normally pull on the tag end. There's very few knots where you're going to pull on the tag end. Now here's one of the tricks to this knot. So I get that overhand knot tight. Now I want to get this knot seated right up against the eye of the fly. And I do that by pulling again on the tag end. Usually not the norm, but I just pulled on the tag end and I got that knot seated right up against the eye of this fly, okay? And again, trying to keep it as tight as possible. Now, I'm simply going to tie another overhand knot, of course, using the tag end, and I'm going to go over the standing end and tie that overhand knot. Now, realizing that the placement of this is very important. Okay, the place where you tie this knot is going to determine the size of the loop. So that's also very, very important. And the size doesn't matter. It's just that you don't want the size of the loop to be longer than the hook shank. Otherwise, your hook can get caught inside that loop, and you don't want that. That's obviously going to be a bad situation. You don't want that. So you can kind of adjust this as it goes, and you'll see that I've kind of set the size of my loop there, okay? And now, once again, we're going to pull on this tag end, and I'm going to take my manly pliers, and I'm going to grab onto that tag end, and I'm going to crank down on that and tighten that overhand knot right there, okay? And that tightens that second overhand. Again, not usually pulling on the tag end. In this case, we just cinch that knot down by pulling on the tag end. Now I'm going to secure my fly here in my manly pliers, and then to seat this knot, to get it to seat perfectly, we're now going to pull on the standing end. We're going to leave that tag end alone. We're going to pull on the standing end, and you'll see, just like butter, those two overhand knots, essentially this is a jam knot, those two overhand knots slide right together, and I really reef on this, and boom. Just like butter, there you go. A Homer Rhode Loop Knot, and I can trim the tag in fairly close. I don't come right up against it. Homer Rhode Loop Knot allows you to tie a loop knot with very heavy materials. All right, so now we're going to move to the fluorocarbon so you can see it with the heavier stuff. And obviously I can't see this stuff as well, so I need a little bit of help. There we go. With this heavy mono or fluorocarbon, a lot of times running it through your fingers, almost like a leader straightener, the heat from your fingers can kind of help to straighten it. Just makes it a little bit easier to work with. Okay, so now I'm going to tie my overhand knot here, and then I'm going to thread the fly onto the tag end, and then I'm going to come up and through that original overhand knot with the tag end. And now I'm going to pull on both pieces, the standing end, the tag end, and of course securing the fly here, and I'm going to get that knot to cinch up. Now I want that original knot right up against the eye of the fly, and I get it there by cranking on the tag end. Okay, and then again, really get it to seat by pulling on both pieces. This is, again, a little bit unique for this particular knot. So I pull on both pieces. If you pull on the standing end at this point, it's going to pull the knot right out. It will literally just pull, that tag end will come flipping out, and you'll have nothing but the original overhand knot, and your fly will no longer be threaded. So again, the knot is right up against the eye of the fly. Now I'm going to take the tag end, I'm going to form another overhand knot, making sure to go over top of the standing end. And again, this stage right here, where you place this knot, and you can kind of play around with the placement of it, where you place this knot is going to determine the size of your loop. Okay, and also when you go to tighten it down, it's going to add a little bit. So I usually make this pretty short, again, just making sure that this distance is less than the length of your hook shank. I'm going to come this way since I'm right-handed, hold on to the hook, and now again you're going to pull on the standing end. I've got my pliers on the standing end. Of course, I'm never going to put my pliers, or excuse me, I've got my pliers on the tag end. I would never put my pliers on the standing end. That's going to abrade that tippet. And I reef on it pretty good. Okay. And now, once and for all, to seat this knot, I'm going to pull on the standing end, and I'm going to crank on it really good, and those two loops slide together, so it's basically a jam knot, and I get myself a good looking loop knot with, say, 60, 80, 100 pound, even heavier monofilament. I can come in and I can trim that knot fairly close, and there I've got a Homer Rhode Loop Knot, or Homer Rhode, excuse me, I believe it is, to be technically correct. So there you have it, friends. Tarpon fishing, big game fishing, tying a fly on with really heavy mono. Look into the Homer Rhode Loop Knot. And You know, it's not known as being the strongest knot out there, but I've probably been big game, tarpon and muskie and other big game, sailfish, stuff like that. And I've been using that knot for 30 plus years. I don't believe I've ever had it fail. So anyhow, as always, we appreciate you watching. Be sure to subscribe to our channel. It's free. Hit that like button. That just makes us feel good. And stay tuned. Coming up in an episode, I'll show you a basic formula for a really simple tarpon leader, and I'll show you how to put all the pieces together, so including that Homer Rhode Loop Knot. So thanks for being here, and stay tuned. We've got a lot more coming at you. If you like this video, hit subscribe. It helps out a lot. And check out these videos. We think you might like them too.